Hey everybody, we got sent a Playdate. If you're gonna buy one, buy the case. There's a little case. This is my fancy case for the review copy.
Yeah, you don't want the screen get scratched.
Oh, it was getting gnar in my purse, so I cleaned it with a little rubbing alcohol and it's fine now. But I've been playing this thing, and I've been loving it. So they sent us this unit, and I got
24
the press release schedule for the games was accelerated. So instead of 2 games a week for 12 weeks, I got 2 games a day for 12 days.
Got it.
And the excitement of a game showing up on here is really pretty cool. And I think some of the games probably got short shrift because I was getting so many so quickly. Because some of these games... You play them, and instantly you're like, okay, I got it. I understand what this is, because it's just like a little arcadey thing. Some of them are like early Pokemon, and you're like, okay, there's like 4 or 5 of these on here that are like story games.
Nice.
And it's like, I've played them all. I didn't beat those, because they're probably long as heck. So it's just like, yeah, when you get 2 a week, I think you'll appreciate each one more. So yeah, if you didn't see the other video, this is Playdate. It's a handheld... gaming console that you get. It's $179, I believe. And that comes with the games.
Yeah, the whole season
24
of games.
In a season, and they deliver them. It's called a season because you get 2 a week, and they show up, and the little light goes, and there's a thing that says, new games are available, and it's got a crank, and it's really funny. It's solid. It feels really good. Watch my unboxing video. I talk more about the hardware. This video is about the games. And I'm here with Bloodworth, so I can just explain to you what the games are.
But it has a cool way to... We didn't talk about that before, is the capture... Like, yes. It just streams to your PC.
There's a thing called Mirror, Playdate Mirror. The support for this thing, it's like bulletproof. It's incredible. The way this stuff works, a thing called Mirror... that you download onto your computer. It's an app. You plug the Playdate in with a USB-C cable, and it just is instantly on your desktop. And you can play it with a controller that way too, which I didn't try, but they say you can do that for like accessibility stuff. And it makes it like a lot easier to see the games and stuff. And it just worked. It's just really slick. And they've got Playdate Pulp, which you can use to make games online and little room-based games. I'm actually looking forward to trying to make one myself. I think it'll be really fun. Yeah, it's really cool looking, and I really, really like it. And we're going to just go through each of the games. We're going to go through them in the order I received them.
Got it, yeah.
Which will also, I am led to believe, be the order you would receive them in the season.
Okay, so even though the list they gave us is alphabetized,
this list is alphabetical.
You don't get them in alphabetical order.
Correct. I'm just going to use this as a reference. We have a list here in front of us. I'm going to use that as a reference to just say who made the games, but you don't get them in that order. So the first 2 I got were Whitewater Wipeout and Casual Birder.
Giles Goddard, really?
What? Yeah. So here, Whitewater Wipeout was developed by Chuhei Labs. Giles Goddard, Mark Lentz, Peter Traylor, Hiro Liao, Remy Thor, Charlie March, Kenzaku Nakata, Zach Eichmann, Mihoko Taro, and Kinsey Burke. And then...
Giles Goddard used to work at Nintendo.
Oh, fun.
Back in the day, like Star Fox time, so yeah.
Fun. And then Casual Birder was by Diego Garcia, music by Max Coburn. So
Casual Birder sounds like me.
Well, that's what I was going to say. So Whitewater Wipeout was the first one I tried. And at first, you don't really know how to play it. A lot of these games, they won't explain exactly what you're supposed to do because that's kind of part of the fun. This one, you use the crank to surf.
Nice.
And you are looking at the side of a wave, and you're going up and down and trying to get off the wave and get air. And if you don't land nose first, or you hit a shark or something, you wipe out, and it like insults you. It'll say like no one cares or something, or like unimpressive or whatever. And that's kind of it. It's fun. It's hard. The learning curve takes a minute to get good at it. Like the first bunch of times I tried it, I was like not getting points and I kept falling over. and it'll give you little tips in between when you fail. It'll be like, oh, use the up button on the D-pad to go a little higher and stuff like that. It's a fun game, and it's very immediate. My favorite games that use the crank are the more arcadey ones where it's like more direct. Also, spoilers for all these games if you want to be surprised.
Oh, true, because it's supposed to be like a...
Right. So like
you don't know what's going to show up on your...
They're gift wrapped,
Playdate.
and it's on the website. Like they say they have a spoiler thing on the website too. It's like you can look at the games if you want, but if you don't want to, don't look at them. And they come with a little gift wrap on them, and you click on them, and it's really cute. Yeah. So spoiler alert. We're gonna go through all of them, and I'm gonna tell you which ones are my favorite. So this isn't exactly precisely a review. It's more like an impressions kind of preview, but. I'll tell you which ones I liked and which ones I didn't. Casual Birder is very cute. I thought of you immediately. It's basically Pokemon, except you're trying to take photos of birds. And you walk between areas and you get a camera from like a kindly old gentleman, and like you're walking between zones, and then you pull out your camera and you use the crank to focus the lens so it'll like move forward or back in depth. Obviously, it's like a top-down, like literally Pokemon Red or Blue or whatever. And it'll be out of focus. It's like all pixelated, like dot art. And then it goes in and out of focus. And then you try to get a picture of the bird. And some of them are flying, and so you have to time it. And some of them are like you have to do stuff to make them come out. And and it's really fun. And when you get a picture of a bird, it's like new bird and tells you information. They're all pretend birds. They're like goof names, right? So that's that one.
Not like Red Dead. There's one thing I got obsessed with a little bit in Red Dead.
Oh, I bet, yeah.
Like all the different animals and stuff that you could tag.
In Red Dead 1, yeah, I was big into hunting and tagging stuff. I did less of it in 2. Okay, next up was Crankin's Time Adventure.
Crankin.
Which I keep trying to say Cranklin, but I guess it's Crankin.
Oh. Developed by Uvula, Keita Takahashi.
Right. Why don't you just read them?
Brian Muller. No, Keita Takahashi is Katamari.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. Also Matthew Grimm and Sean Inman. So this game is very, very interesting. So obviously Playdate has a little crank, and my favorite games, not gonna lie, kind of ignore the crank. But some of them that use the crank are very, very good, and some... Actually, it's about half and half. Some of my favorite games don't use the crank at all, and some of them only use the crank.
Got it.
Crankin's Time Adventure pretty much only uses the crank. And when you crank one direction, you go forward in time. And when you crank the other direction, you go backward in time. And what you're trying to do is get to a date with presumably your girlfriend or whatever. And it says the date is at 3 p.m. And every level is like a new date, but it always is at 3 p.m. And the game starts at 3 p.m. and you're asleep. And so you wake up, and so far, I mean, I've played I'm on like the 15th date or 12th date or something, and I still haven't.
Is that what was he dating the same person, or?
They look the same, yeah. So you're trying to get to her, and if you die, it shows her waiting for you. That's my only critique of this game is that dying takes too long. Like it should be an instant reset.
Sure, yeah.
So you're moving forward in time, and if you hit any animal, you'll die. You'll fall apart, and the timeline is, and then it shows her like waiting for you, and you never show up for your date, right? And the animals are like, it's like a butterfly or a bird or a pig, and they're running toward you, moving toward you, flying toward you, and if you hit them, you lose. So the way that you get past them is Crankin doesn't seem to be too concerned about getting there on time. So if there's a flower, he'll bend over and smell the flower. So you time the flower smelling to let the butterfly fly over you. And like you move through time when you move the crank, but time keeps moving. So the butterfly and the clock in the corner are still moving. So you're just using yourself, moving yourself with the crank, basically. So that's how you get through that. And then like the whole game is just figuring out the positioning for your body, the puzzle of how to get past certain things. Like you need to sip your coffee to get by a bird. You need to jump on a table or whatever to get by something else. And so you have to just time it perfectly. Some of them are kind of hard. The window is pretty tricky, so it gets pretty tough. Next up is Boogie Loops, developed by Mei Lee Ko and Andy Matushik. This is basically just a little loop generator, like music, DAW. Like,
nice.
It's pretty funny, and it comes with dancers. And so, like, at the top of the area where you can put down it's got a piano roll and like a drum roll, and you put, little notes, and you have 2 different instruments with like a lower note and a high note, basically, on the piano roll, and then the drums, standard kick, snare, hi-hat, whatever, cymbal, and like you can just make little loops with that, but then you can set the dancers at the top to dance with certain moves at certain times in the song to go along with it. So each measure you can assign a different dance move, and the dancers are like a panda, a bunny, a sentient piece of pizza.
Nice.
The stuff, goofy stuff like that. A cactus person with a flower. Like, I don't know. It's about that. That's about that. It's cute. It's fun. It's zany. Yeah, you get the boogie. Then next I got Lost Your Marbles, developed by Sweet Baby Inc. and Friends. Another one that's kind of Pokemon-ish. This one is more goofy, I would say. It's about this girl who is like an intern for a scientist who is a cat person, and the cat person has invented all kinds of amazing things, but this time they've invented a device that lets you think out problems even if you wouldn't know the answer to it, and you move a marble around, and then you come to a conclusion, right?
Got it.
And so it starts out, and you're like, he's asking you something like, what is, like this chemical compound or something that you wouldn't know, and then you do the marble thing with the crank, you move the level, and the physics are a little wonky, or a little weird. It takes a second to get used to them, but it ends up being pretty fun. And then you break the answer. It's like in a glass bubble, and you have to hit it a couple of times, and then it breaks, and you have the answer. But then your dog comes into the lab, and the cat person and the dog freak out and break the marble machine.
Oh no.
While it's connected to your head. So your thoughts get all jumbled. And so then you're going through and you're, trying to answer things and find stuff, but everything's all crazy. And you're trying to write a note to find your dog, but they're like, well, okay, write the note, and what should we put on it? And you have to find your thinking, so you have to find what to say with hitting it with a marble, but it's what you come up with is good or bad answers depending on what you can hit with your marble, basically.
Right.
And it kind of goes from there. Yeah, so that's the basic premise. It's pretty fun. Next up is Pick Pack Pup, developed by Nick Magnier, Arthur Hammer, music by Logan Gabriel. This one's pretty cute. It's a matching game where you're a puppy dog working at an Amazon, an evil, massive corporation, and you're trying to ship items out as quickly as possible. And when you make a match, it boxes them in kind of any shape, and then you send the boxes out, and then you try to make new matches. And the story mode challenges you to do certain things, get a row of boxes on the bottom, or make 5 matches of 5 items, or do just bananas, and as fast as you can. It's cute and it's fun. It's got endless mode, and it's got a lot of little things you'd expect out of a good matching game. I liked it. It's fun, and it's just cute. The dogs are very cute. And this one actually does a thing that I really liked, actually, in the Playdate. The story mode, the little interstitial story parts are comic strips.
Oh, nice.
And it's just, I guess, one image file, but you scroll down it with the crank. So you're unraveling it and reading it, and it just scrolls past.
Yeah.
Which is kind of a fun way to use that. Okay, the next one is called Flipper Lifter.
Flipper Lifter.
It's developed by Serenity Forge, who I've heard of. Mm-hmm. This one is actually really great. It's so you use the crank to move an elevator to move penguins to the floor they want. And it starts in a hotel, and the better you do, the more floors it adds. And if you do it well and quickly, you get more time. And it's just really cute. And it's like the kind of thing where you'll pick up a penguin and then the floor they want to go to shows up as a little exclamation point on that floor and it'll start filling up black. So like once it's full, you've screwed it up and they, whatever, you lose that one. You don't get points. And so if you do that enough, you lose the level. But it gets more and more involved and quicker and crazier from there. It's a simple idea that's a lot of fun. Flipper Lifter. Next up is Echoic Memory, developed by Alex Ashby, Lawrence Bishop, Duncan Fife, Belinda Leong, and Jared Emerson Johnson. This one's really interesting. It takes place in a kind of weird future, again, kind of in an Amazon-esque assembly factory, where you're testing kind of like smart speakers, like a smart device, like an ALEXIA or whatever, how do you say Alexa? Well, I said it anyway. But sorry to anyone who's...
All that effort.
I know, sorry to anyone whose device I just woke up. Sorry. I was trying. I added an A in there and I got all confused. Anyway, so you're basically doing that and you're opening it up and the loudspeaker tells you, like, you have to test their memory. And it's basically a music matching game.
Okay.
At least so far, I have the feeling like maybe it'll go wild places, but so far, you get like a little snatch of melody or like a rhythm and a song. They're kind of like a little fraction of like chiptune industrial music, sort of. And then you have 4 options and you match which one it is. And yeah. That's kind of it. You use the crank to like basically turn up the cutoff filter after a while to like just make it audible, and stuff like that. And I imagine it'll go places from there. Pretty interesting concept. One critique I have on that one is I wish that you could stop the playback of the initial clip, because you have to sit through the whole thing before.
Right.
Listening to the other ones, and like so far they're all different enough that you hear the first couple of beats and you're like, okay, I know which one it is. Yeah, that's fine. Next up is Hyper Meteor, developed by Vertex Pop, Mobeen Fikri, Robbie Dugway, and H. Heron. This is basically like Asteroids, but you don't shoot. You move the ship and hit stuff with the ship. So you have there's a white part and a black part, and if you hit the black part, you die, and if you hit the white part, you destroy the meteor or whatever. Meteor. It's called a hyper meteor, and you get like 1 bomb that you can clear the screen with.
Okay, cool.
And I think you probably can recharge that. I'm not very good at this game. It's kind of hard.
Yeah, as those tend to be.
Yeah, and you can either use the D-pad or the B and A buttons. I found using the B and A buttons easier just because it felt easier to hold it, more stable, and use the crank to drive. One of them is your thrust and one of them is the bomb. So simple controls, but a high learning curve on that one, or high skill curve. Okay. The next one was my first favorite. And the name is recognizable. It's by Bennett Foddy, who you may know from Getting Over It with Bennett Foddy. This game is called Zipper, and it is so cool. I love this game.
Nice.
It's definitely by far one of my favorites. You play as a samurai trying to infiltrate an enemy base or palace or whatever, and there are a bunch of guards, and it's a grid on the floor, and it's kind of turn-based, and you can only move in one direction. It's not turn-based exactly, but it's like time only moves when you move, basically, but the enemies and you move at the same time, but you and the enemies are like thinking up where you're going to go on in between movements. And it's called Zipper because once you pick where you're going to go, you zip over there. And if you zip directly to someone or past them, you kill them. And like blood will spray everywhere, and it's really satisfying. It looks really cool. The graphics in this are amazing. This game is so good. And it gets more and more challenging. They introduce different enemy types, and there's a timer in the corner where it's like life or something. It's like counting down by the more you move. So I think that you probably have to get to the goal in a limited amount of time. There are branching paths. You can take different ways in. It's really cool. And the thing I didn't discover at first, and if you don't want to hear this, just skip ahead a little bit, but what the crank does, and because this is one of the games where I'm like, it's not using the crank. Yes, it is. The crank, if you use the crank, lets you preview the move.
Got it.
And you crank through it, and then if you hear burr, 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 that means that you get killed that turn. So you don't want to do that move. And it's really satisfying to try to plan your move and then try to not die, because you can paint yourself into a corner in this game.
For sure.
If you don't get them both or get far enough away from them, they'll follow your track and they'll get you. You know, it's so fun. Next up was Demon Quest 85, developed by Alex Ashby, Lawrence Bishop, Duncan Fife, Belinda Leong, and Jared Emerson Johnson, who also made Echoic Memory, apparently. I did not realize that until right now. This is one of my other all-time favorites on here. This game is fantastic. It is a narrative kind of... So it starts with this book, and it's basically like how to summon demons. You find it under your like grandpa's bed or something, and you ask your big brother if you can play with it. And he's like, yeah, whatever. We tried it and it didn't work. And then the gameplay loop, as they say, is you look at the book and you see what a certain demon likes. You see the problems it can help solve. Like this demon is good at teaching languages and finding lost animals, and it hates, or it really likes raw meat, and it likes the sound of horns, like precede it when it arrives, right?
Okay.
So then you get those kinds of information. Then you go to the kitchen in your house. You can see like the exterior of the house. You can move around in the
And
house.
just grab some raw meat.
Well, and you grab some like beef jerky, which is the best you can do, right?
Okay.
And then so you go to the living room and you put on blues music because it's preceded by the sounds of trumpets, right? And then you go to your bedroom and you look at your yearbook and you try to figure out what 3 kids from school you should invite over to help you summon this demon. And you have to find the right kids with the right problems that don't piss off the demon with the right gift and the right music. And if you do all of those things, you summon the demon, and it like takes over one of the kids and like talks to you through it. And the writing is fun and it's really cool. I was really getting a kick out of it. And the story actually like goes places. You can influence it. It's really I really like it. It's really fun. And it was one of the later ones I played because that one I got Zipper at the same time as that one.
Yeah.
And so I was just like, I kind of like missed this one.
That's a good week.
That was a great one. Yeah, great drop that week. Whatever week that is, 5 or 6. Yeah, so those are 2 of my favorites so far. This one is called Omaze, I believe. Let me just open it to make sure.
I feel like I've heard of this one. I don't know why.
I'm pretty sure this is Omaze. Yeah, this is Omaze. Because the reason I'm confused is because the little title screen doesn't have the name. It's just like an eyeball in a circle looking around.
Mm-hmm.
This one's cool though. It by Sweet Baby Ink and Friends. You use the crank to rotate a ball, and you can change little things. And they're little circular. They're like circles next to each other with openings on the sides, and you go through the openings. And you're trying to get to the ending. But if you hit an obstacle, you fail and start over. And it just keeps adding new kind of wrinkles. Like there's a thing that'll auto-rotate you around the thing instead of you rotating with the crank. You can shift the directions. You can do like this stuff. There's little ones with like a little opening that you have to align. But you have to like move your timing so that you get there when the gap is facing you. Stuff like that. Mm-hmm. It's really pretty satisfying, and it uses the crank in a nice way. I liked Omaze. Next up was Executive Golf DX, made by Dave Makes. This is another one of my favorites. It's a mini golf game, 2D, obviously from the side. And you're vertically going up an office building and hitting the ball over copiers and arcade machines and desks and stuff, and each floor brings different challenges. like you go to marketing, you go to accounting, you go to executive, whatever, and you can get little power-ups that change what the ball does. So like one of them is lead, so your ball will just stop when it lands.
Right.
One of them's sticky, so it'll hit something and stay there. One of them's helium, it'll like float kind of, stuff like that. And like it's tricky and it's satisfying. And you can use the D-pad to align your shots or the crank. And if you're not in a shot, you can use the crank to move the camera up and down, basically.
Got it, yeah.
And yeah, the levels are like 3 or 4 floors that you have to get up and then get to the elevator. The hole is the elevator up to the next floor, basically. It's fun. I really like it. It's really cute. The next one is Questy Chess, developed by Dadaco. This one is really good too. You are in a computer from like, I don't know, the 80s or whatever, and you're a chess program, and Chess 2.0 was installed, but it didn't uninstall one pawn. And you play as that pawn, and your quest is to delete all traces of Chess 2.0.
Wow.
And like you get more pieces and you're moving forward, but you can only move like that chess piece.
Right.
So it's wild. And it's like taking place inside of a computer. So it's like glitchy and cool and weird. And it's really neat. I really like that one. It's really good. Next up is Star Sled by Greg Meletic. Music by Jesus Diaz and Aaron Bell. This one's kind of cool. It's another kind of like, not really like asteroids, but it's like picture that kind of visual. Mm-hmm. And you are a little starship with a, what is it? Not lanyard, but like lasso or something behind itself. It's like one big cord, like a filament, cord. And you're going and you have to ensnare like little star sparks, those little sparks. And if you do more than one at a time, it overloads and you blow up. If you hit one, you blow up. There are obstacles you have to get around. It's cool. And you use the crank to steer. It's neat. You just kind of like circle them, and that's kind of that. Next up is Saturday Edition by Chuck Jordan. Music and sound by Jared Emerson Johnson, whose name pops up a few times in here.
Yeah. There's quite a few of them.
This one is kind of like... this one I need to spend more time with, but it's a really interesting kind of like story. You play as a dude, and it's got kind of like point and click adventure vibes. Like you inspect things, you go to new locations. The graphics are really cool in this. This does a cool thing when like if you're standing outside of a door, a little graphic of the doorknob will appear above you in a little square.
Okay.
And like if you're going to talk to someone, like a little part of their face will be above you, but like it's very kind of artfully cropped where it's like you get the idea of who this person is, even though it's just like a tiny little box of their face.
Yeah.
Or one of the really good ones was if you wanted to go up an escalator, the little box shows the like stairs of the escalator moving by, you know? Like it's neat. I don't know. It's a cool game. And the story is bizarre. It seems really kind of wild. Snak, or Snake, but S-N-A-K, developed by Zach Gage with art by Nevin Mergen. This is Snake, except for the apples that you're trying to collect are sentient and trying to eat you. And so if they reach your head, you die. The apples are like going...
So you're dodging rather than picking them up.
No, you're doing both.
Oh.
So you're... if you eat the apple head on, you eat the apple, you're fine. If an apple gets onto your body, it turns black and it starts traveling up your body. And if it gets to your head, you die. It eats you. But the wrinkle in this is you can jump yourself. You can jump over your own body. Seems like to any length as long as you don't hit perpendicular. And if you do that, you can eat an apple that's on your body. So if you come at it and hit it with your face, you'll get it. But you can jump over yourself multiple times. And obviously you can't hit the walls. Yeah, it's fun. It's hard. I've played it and done okay at it. And I don't know if it goes anywhere else besides that because I die after a while. I think my record is like 15 apples or something. It's like kind of tough. Sasquatchers, developed by Chuck Jordan, music and sound by Jared Emerson Johnson. This is a cute, tactical, cryptid photography game. You're like, you're a team of like Bigfoot hunters, and you're trying to get likes on your photos. Like you're like influencers, basically. You're like doing a ghost hunters show. You're influencers, and you can move the van and your team. You're the overseer or whatever, and it's cute. It's funny. Like there's a lot of talking to get going, but once you get going, it's pretty fun. And you like move around tactical style, like grid, and you then can take a selfie with one guy, and like if he's in the picture and like a Bigfoot is in the picture, you get likes and views, and then that's good for your publicity and stuff. And the other photographer, she takes photos forward, and so she can see way farther, and her face isn't in the way. So each character, and like one guy can lure monsters or scare them away, or like make them so they won't attack for a turn. And your van has to stay on the road, but it lights up in front of itself because it's nighttime, so it lights up. And the graphics are cute. It's like top down, kind of pixely. Everything's kind of like dots art in a lot of these games, like little dots instead of. I mean, I guess they are technically pixels, but yeah. Okay, next up is probably among my absolute favorite. If I were to pick my two favorite, it would probably be this one and Zipper. Inventory Hero, developed by James Moore and Nevin Mergen, music by Jesus Diaz and Aaron Bell, whose names we've also heard on this. But this game is so much fun, and it's such a dumb, simple premise. You're just managing the inventory of a hero. Got it. And you can pick a boy or a girl, and you have two buttons.
Please use this elixir.
Well, you can. Well, it's even more simple than that. All you can do is use or like equip or use or drop it, and you're moving forward through stuff, attacking monsters. Like bats or whatever, gremlins, and they'll drop stuff. And sometimes they drop garbage, and sometimes they drop health potions or food or equipment. You've got a little equipment screen, and you can see the number of the value or the strength of the thing you have equipped right now. So it's like you can see that your weapon is a 3 and your shirt is a 2, and it's like, okay, well the one I just got is a 4, so that's pretty cool. But as you take damage, your equipment wears down. So if you currently have a 14 weapon, but you pick up a 12, do you hang on to it?
Right.
Like to see, like, are you going to use it later? And you have to stay alive, so you have to have enough room in your thing. But like certain things that you pick up, you have to get rid of them right away, or they'll like duplicate or start taking over your other items and stuff. So it's really, really fun. And each area there are a bunch of different levels. It's kind of roguelike, like you just make it as far as you make it, and then you're done. I don't know. It's just really, really fun. And the sound design is really good in this one. It has very satisfying noises.
Nice.
It's one of my favorites. I played it probably the most. It's really good. Next up is Spellcorked by Yada Gibbs, Nick Splendor, Ryan Splendor, and Tony Ghostbright. Music by A Shell in a Pit. So this one is you play as a witch, and you're managing like a coffee shop, sort of, but like a witch shop.
Got it.
And so you get emails of orders.
That mushroom coffee.
Yeah. Well, and you get different, like whatever, ingredients. And then you mix them on a mortar and pestle with, of course, the crank.
Nice.
And then you ship them off to the customers. And you have a little cat assistant, and it's very cool. It's really chill and nice. I like this one. Next up is Battleship Godios, which is by TPM.co Softworks. This one, the idea for the game is really neat. It's kind of like old school handheld game, maybe like a Tiger style thing where it's like simple graphics. You're a little ship and you shoot a thing and you're trying to break apart enemy ships, kind of.
Okay.
The bummer is they've gone so far as to emulate those kinds of handhelds as to use sound effects that are just basically like those little tinny speakers that like
watch sounds
only
basically.
allow watch sounds. And frankly, it's pretty abrasive. Like I have to mute this game to even play it. Like the game is fun, but the sound is just very irritating. Yeah, so I didn't play that one too much because it's really annoying to listen to. Sorry, but the game seems really fun. Next up is Forrest Byrnes Up in Smoke, developed by Nels Anderson and Christina Cast Pixel Neos.
Oh, it's such a great name to say out loud.
Neofotisto. Is that how you'd say that one?
Yeah, Neofotisto.
Neofotisto.
The forest burns up in smoke.
Yeah, Forrest Burns Up in Smoke.
Like, I think you gotta put the text on screen.
Yeah, well, they're looking at the game, so.
Yeah.
Forrest Byrnes, Byrnes, is his name, and then it says Up in Smoke. It's like Forrest Byrnes in Up in Smoke, but it's Forrest Byrnes Up in Smoke. This one's really fun. I like this one a lot. You're a park ranger, like a fire watch kind of guy, and you're just running to the right, jumping. You have to dig up park emblems and rescue campers from an oncoming wall of fire.
Got it.
And if you get hit by the fire, obviously you lose. And every level is different. I get an impression that they're like possibly like procedurally generated somehow or something. Because like sometimes I've gotten levels that like were nearly identical, but some of the items are in different places.
Okay.
Or like certain scenarios will like pop up again. I don't know. That's speculation, but it's kind of interesting. And then as you get certain unlocks, you unlock these cute little posters that you can look at in the menu. It's a lot of fun. It's just really satisfying. You have a shovel. You can double jump on your shovel. You can dig up stuff. You use the crank to raise kids that are stuck in wells. It feels like just a very satisfying little arcade, like handheld. Next one is, I guess, B360. Developed by Dan Messing, Nevin Mergen, Steve Frank, music by Jesus Diaz and Aaron Bell. Basically brick out in a circle. So like you're moving the crank.
Are you in the middle or are you on the outside?
You're on the outside and the bricks are in the middle.
Got it.
And so you're hitting, your paddle is on the outside of the level and you're hitting bricks in the center, and it is very difficult. I am not good at this game.
Yeah.
I find it's cool. I really like the idea, but it's hard. And I can't wait to see. I'm sure there'll be somebody who's just like whiz bang at it, but it ain't me. Because wow, it's tricky, but it's neat. And then the last one here of the season is Ratcheteer by Sean Inman, Matthew Grimm, and Charlie Davis. This is another kind of Pokemon-y one.
Oh, okay.
And it was the last game, and thus it's the one I have the least amount of experience with. But it starts in a sort of a Pokemon kind of setup where you have a kind of a mentor and you get items and stuff, and you have a lantern and it's dark out and you have to go around and like make sure you're managing your light and can see where you're going and stuff. And it looks like a little adventure game. Probably you solving puzzles and stuff. But like I said, I didn't have as much of a chance to look into it, but it looked kind of cute. Yeah, so Inventory Heroes, Zipper, Questy Chess, Executive Golf, Demon Quest 85, Flipper Lifter, Pack Pup, Crankins. Like there are some phenomenal games in here.
Nice.
And like none of them I like hated, Like
Right.
none of them are like straight up bad. So I frankly think this thing is pretty worth it if you're into this sort of stuff. There is one more game to cover that is not part of the season.
Right. Yeah.
So this is Panic sent it to me. It's included in the was included in the press thing, but it was to introduce the idea of side loading, which is a cool thing you can do on the Playdate. So you can go to itch.io, or you can make a game on the Pulp and side load it onto your device. It's not very hard. You just go online in your account. You have an account with your email address that's tied to your Playdate, and you just put that on the site, and then it goes into your Playdate. Because the Playdate has Wi-Fi, and it's like a modern device, blah, blah, blah. And so this game is called Bloom. It's developed by RNG Party Games, and it's interesting. It's a real-time, narrative-driven social sim about starting up a flower shop made for the Playdate. I believe it costs $9.99, I think.
Okay.
and it's cute because it takes place, like they said, in real time. There's a little reviewer mode that I could look at where it was like a little quicker, but which hopefully I can say. But it's you basically just check in each day. There are 2 rooms. There's your room and the roof, and you plant flowers on the roof. To make money, you have to plant flowers and then dig them up, which I did not know for a little while.
Oh, sure.
And I figured that out. But yeah, so you dig them up and then you get the money immediately, and you can buy more flowers on your phone, and they grow in real time, and you water them and stuff like that. And then you're having conversations on your phone with your girlfriend and your friends and your parents and stuff like that. And there's like, some drama because you dropped out of college to start a flower shop.
Okay.
You're trying to follow in your grandmother's footsteps, who loved gardening and flowers and stuff. And college just wasn't for you, but you haven't told your parents yet. So there's some like drama there, and you get all the story through text messages on your phone. Like you don't see your character like moving around or anything. It's just through the phone. And yeah, it's got a lot of heart and it seems really good. I'm like, I guess 4 in-game days into it, 5 maybe. And so, I can't really say if it gets like heartbreaking or anything yet, but I think about the game and I want to keep going in and playing it and seeing like what happens. So it's like, that's a good sign, right? Yeah,
yeah, what's interesting to me is, you're talking about side loading and getting other things. Like, I imagine that because of the size and the scale and the graphics and everything, like, they're probably not that large.
No, it wasn't. I don't recall exactly how big the file was, but yeah, the file is not large. They're all just black and white, obviously. It's funny because the screen looks good. I mean, oh yeah, I haven't even let you hold this thing. I'm sorry, Bloodworth. It's fun because you can hit it at an angle.
Yeah, because it is a reflective screen. It doesn't have any kind of
yeah.
light
There's
on
no
it.
backlight at all. Which at first I was like, oh, is that kind of crappy? And then I was like, oh no, it's kind of cute, and it like makes you play it in certain
when you're just
scenarios.
doing black and white, it totally works. Yeah.
Yeah, and like you can hit it at a certain angle where it like seems to glow. Like if you tilt it a little,
yeah, it
like really brightens up. So it's really neat. I'm very pleased, and I had ordered one of these myself, which has not yet arrived. I believe
you
they'll
actually
be
like you really have to get it in a bad space to where you
can't see it. Yeah,
so you can't see something. Yeah,
when you're playing in a well lit space, for sure. Like if you're trying to play it in a like a in bed and you don't have the lights on, like you just won't see it.
Right. Also, we're obviously under floodlights
we're
right
in a very
here.
well lit place here. Yeah, but I mean, playing it at home or outside, I've been taking it all around. Like part of my testing was playing it.
Right.
I was showing it to a friend at a party, and like I was playing it at a, wherever, like as I was out somewhere, just trying to test it in different scenarios, and like it works fine, as long as you've got light. Like it's fine in sun, it's fine in a lamp, it's fine under floodlights on a stage,
Yeah, for the size, it's actually a pretty clearly high resolution.
Yeah.
You get a lot of detail on some of these opening
I wonder
screens.
if they. Yeah, so the hardware specs, we can just say this. The hardware specs are 400. The display is 400 by 240 1-bit display. It's 76 by 74 by 9 millimeters. The battery life is 14 days standby clock, 8 hours active. Not sure I believe the standby because like I've left it sitting for a few days and it will charge down. Although that may be because I was getting 2 new games every day, so it was like having to download. So that's probably maybe that. It's got 16 megabytes of RAM storage, 4 gigabyte flash drive.
Got it.
So like I think it'd be pretty damn hard to fill this thing up. It's got built-in mono speaker, which actually sounds pretty good, and it has a built-in stereo headphone jack and a condenser mic.
Wow.
TRRS
Even
mic
better than
in.
an iPhone.
Yeah. 2 buttons, D-pad, crank, and it has an accelerometer. I forgot to mention that. With the only game on here that I saw really take use of that was Spellcorked, where to pour it in, you tilt it actually works really well. You just tilt the Playdate and it pours in.
Nice.
It's a really cute, fun little thing. I don't know. It's like obviously a novelty, I guess, but like these are real games with like people are putting real effort into them, you know? Like I was a little worried that they'd all be kind of just like whatever, like
Right.
crappy little like Tiger games or something.
Well, and
but
just,
it's like,
you know,
no,
like you
these are
said,
legit.
Some of the people that you got in here to give this thing a first run and try things out.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool.
Pretty amazing.
Obviously, a lot of these are, you know, probably part of the development team because there's a lot
a
of
lot
the
of
same
them
names.
are. Yeah, a lot of them are from Panic.
But it's still, getting Keita Takahashi in there at launch.
Yeah, pretty wild, right?
Charles Goddard in
Bennett
there.
Foddy?
Yeah, Bennett Foddy, yeah.
Yeah, all in all, I'm like really pleased. I really love this little thing, and like I said, like I'd love to try out making a game. I look forward to seeing what people start making. Panic, they're like, you can do whatever you want. Like you can just sell games for it. That
Right.
You know, and it's like they don't care. Like they're not gonna try to take a piece of that or anything. Like it's up to you.
Because you're just saying you just load it up,
load it on there, side
put it
load
on your
it.
account.
Yeah, and it's really cool. I definitely recommend if you're getting it, get the case. The one I ordered, I'll be getting the case, so I'm just gonna take the case from that and then do whatever I need to do with the other Playdate. But get a case because you don't want to scratch it up. But yeah, that's the Playdate. I don't know. We talked for much longer than I thought we would. I thought this would be like a little 10-minute video, and I talked for 50 minutes. So sorry about that.
Well, 24 games, that would have been 30 seconds per game. That would be like a speed run challenge.
Would have been impressive, yeah. But anyway, that's a deep dive, I guess, into the.
It's not quite that either, but
yeah,
still,
it's like a.
there's the games. It's a
medium
cool thing.
dive into the season 1 of Playdate. Really fun little thing. I think pretty well priced, like worth the value seems about right to me. Especially because they're probably going to do other seasons later. I don't know what the price model will be for that, but like it's really fun to just get games suddenly on there. It's kind of exciting. You can something to look forward to. I don't know. I'm really pleased.
It has a crank.
It has a crank. It has a clock on the front of it.
No fishing game yet, huh?
Yeah. I mean, maybe one of these other games has fishing in it that I just didn't get to, like Ratcheteer or something. Ratcheteer. Anyways, thank you. We've been Easy Allies. Check out patreon.com/Easy Allies to help us exist. We would appreciate it. And check out the Playdate if you're into that sort of thing, which I guess if you watch 50 minutes of this, you probably are. All right. Bye, everybody.